Well, hello everyone, and welcome to week 6 of our class. This week we will focus on quality. All right, quick recap of what we looked at last week. Last week our focus was on risk management. We took a look at planning it, how we identify risks, how we can categorize them for both impact and cost. We took a look at what we can do to prevent or mitigate risks, how we can implement them, and how we monitor risks, and how that works throughout the course of our project. Now we're going to take a look at quality. So here's a definition. This is the book definition: the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfills requirements. That comes from the PMBOK on page 74, and that is derived from the International Standards Organization, ISO, their standard 9000. Okay, so what that means to you and me in layman's terms is how well our deliverable, be it a product or a service, meets the requirements that were set forth in the scope. So whatever it is we're going to produce, does it do what the scope says it should do? And how well does it do that? That is quality. So we're going to look at how we can implement quality throughout our project. The PMBOK has a pretty standard methodology for each of the knowledge areas. Quality management is just like the ones we looked at before. So there's really 3 parts. We're going to plan how we're going to manage quality. Then we're going to actually manage quality and control quality. And I'll talk about the differences between those two as we get to them. So the quality management process, this is a busy slide, and there's a lot of parts to it. And what I want to highlight here is that quality does not just happen once in a project. It's not just a task. You go, quality, check, and it's done. This slide indicates that quality happens throughout the life cycle of your project, from the beginning to the end. It's not just a one-time task, and that's the key thing to take away here, is that quality is a continuous process that happens throughout your project. So let's take a look at what we need to do. We need to plan quality management. Much like all the other knowledge areas, we need to think about what we need to do, how we're going to measure quality, the processes we're going to put in place in order to ensure quality, and so on. I'm not going to get into all the details here. You could spend a whole lot of time looking at quality management, and there are separate courses that talk about quality in great detail. But for the sake of what we need to know here is you don't just go about it randomly. You have to plan your quality processes, and you have to plan what you're going to do when you're going to do them. And as I mentioned before, it happens throughout the course of your project, not just once. So you're going to plan what you're going to do from the beginning to the end to manage quality throughout the project. And let's talk about why we need to manage quality. And it comes down to the cost of conformance, which is a very important concept. If you look on the left side of the slide, this is the money that we're going to spend to make sure that what we're producing is a quality product. That is called the cost of conformance, the money that we spend to make sure it's done correctly. The old saying, do it right the first time, you don't have to redo it. That is exactly what the left side of the slide is talking about. And it really comes into 2 parts. Prevention costs, which is making sure you have a high quality product by preventing errors and preventing mistakes. And that's done by training, documenting your processes, having the right equipment, and the right time to do your processes correctly. And it also comes down to appraisal costs. That is the measures that you take to assess that things are done correctly. You have to test your product. Does it work right? Does it break? Does it last a long time, or does it wear out quickly? You have to inspect batches of your products or the deliverables to make sure they all meet the same quality levels, so that what I am producing meets the requirements that are laid out in the scope. And the bottom line of the left-hand side of this slide is that cost of conformance is money that you're spending during the project to avoid failures. So that avoiding failures is another name to make sure that it's a high quality product that meets the scope that we laid out early in the project. The flip side of that is the right side of the slide, where we talk about the cost of non-conformance. This is the money that you spend afterwards because quality was not there. Okay, and internally, if you don't have well-documented processes, if you're not using quality control measures, you'll have a lot of wasted material and wasted time because things won't be done right. People will make mistakes and so on. Those are internal failure costs. And then external failure costs are probably the highest. This will be if you produce a deliverable and it goes to customers and it has failures. It doesn't work. You get customers who are upset, lost business, the deliverable or whatever it is, the product is returned for warranty work, or in the worst case scenario, the product injures somebody and you have liabilities for injuries, for whatever. Those are very expensive, bad publicity for your business and so on. So the cost of non-conformance is the money that is spent because of failure. So left side is to prevent failure. The right side is what happens if you don't prevent failure. So it is better to spend your money on the left side of the slide, the cost of conformance, than it is after the fact on the cost of non-conformance. All right, so let's look at managing quality. Managing quality, the key thing to remember here is about managing the processes that are used when you're going through and producing your deliverable. What are the processes that you use? You want to make sure that they meet the right quality standards, they're done correctly, they're documented, and so on. That is managing quality. And I'm going to show you here on the next slide. Controlling quality is the flip side of that. It's making sure, if you take a look here, that your deliverables meet the scope. So managing quality is about your processes, and controlling quality is about the end state and making sure it meets the scope that we laid out earlier in the project. Okay, that's all there is for quality for this set of slides, but as I mentioned before, there is a lot more to quality than what I'm talking about here. But for the sake of this week, take a look at the readings that are embedded in the course. This material came from the PIM-BOK, so if you take the material that I have here plus the readings, you'll be in a good position for what you need to know about quality for this course. Just know that there's a lot more out there, and if you want to read more, there's plenty more out there. Okay, so let's talk about our assignment for this week. Our assignment for this week is ITP 5, and it's going to build on the material that we covered last week, which was risk. Okay, so this week our assignment will focus on last week's work, and we're going to produce a risk assessment. Please take a look at the ITP master document, pages 50 to 54, for all the details of what's required for this assignment. And lastly, as I always say at the end of each set of slides, if you have questions, please email me or post a question on Ask Your Professor. Do it early. Don't wait to the last minute. I'll get back to you and I will answer your question and get you set up for success for this week. Okay, that's it, and I will see you next week. Thank you.